Every parent wants a confident a child who can stand strong, a child who can say no to peer pressure, a child who can recover after a setback. Every parent desires a confident child, but guess what? Confident children are not just born confident. They've got to grow into being confident. And guess what? Again, parents have a big part to play in that confident building. So today I'm going to be speaking about some parenting styles, but specifically about the parenting style that will help you to raise confident children. And when we talk about confident children, we're not just talking about loud children. No, confidence is an inner stability that will help your child, because what confident children do, and I've said it just at the beginning here, is that they have the audacity to say no to negative peer pressure. They also know how to navigate friendships and how to be resilient in friendships and in school. They're not afraid of sharing how they feel, you know, and they're also not afraid of questioning authority. But of course, what we now need to do as parents is to guide them in the right way to question. I must say this: confident children are not necessarily compliant children, because they're going to ask you, why do you want me to do this? Why do you want me to do that? They're going to want to negotiate when you want them to do something. That's what comes with being confident. And what it takes a parent who is patient. It takes a parent who stays emotionally regulated intentionally to be able to raise confident children. So today, let's just kind of break it down. Let's talk about some parenting styles that we all know. A lot of parents are parenting from what we saw and how we were parented. And one of the key things is, even when we decide not to parent the way we were parented, a lot of times we go to the other side of it. So let's say, for example, your parent was an authoritarian. It was about control and stuff like that. You may be now in this generation, you say, no, I don't want to parent like how my parents parented. My parents were too strict. But a lot of times what then happens is that we go to the extreme of now being permissive, where there's no controls in place, and we go permissive. And that's still not healthy for our children. Uh, when we are so let's go back to being authoritarian parenting. If you're doing exactly what your parents did in being authoritarian, and you might be saying, oh, my parents were authoritarians and I turned out fine. And I like to say this very respectfully: I am so glad that you turned out fine. But you know what? Fine is no longer enough. Turning out fine is no longer enough, not for this generation. We want them to turn out more than fine. And so for them to turn out more than fine, we cannot. That over control, that authoritarian parenting doesn't work at all. And there's so many research and proof about that. It doesn't work. But then the other side of authoritarian is when you say, you know what, I'm not gonna be this strict, but then no structures, no boundaries. You're just so permissive. Guess what? What our children then tend to do, they don't build confidence with permissive parents, no, because they will still be afraid when it's time to when there's struggles, when there's setbacks. They wouldn't know how to handle it because they haven't been taught guidance and boundaries, so they won't know how to handle different changes and challenges. So that's authoritarian, that's permissive. There's also uninvolved parenting, where we're not very involved. There's low connection, low guidance, and sometimes there's some books that call it neglectful parenting, and it's there. It exists. I must tell you, it exists. And again, our children cannot be confident in that because they wouldn't know what direction to take. But here's the parenting style that does the trick with intentionality and with consistency. Is a parenting style that is locked in on relationship and growth. And you could look at it as authoritative. There's a term for that called authoritative. But I'm bringing it into what my framework, which is relationship and growth, where you are focusing on the connection to your child. You're also focusing on the growth that as you're growing as they're growing. Yeah. And then you're focusing as well on the role. So you've got the relationship, the growth process through the age stages, and the growth process through the age stages, and your role as a parent. That is what creates, and I'm going to break it down so that we can see what it looks like on everyday basis. I'm gonna break that down. Okay. So what this relationship and growth parenting, how it shows up, is that it helps your children to grow in confidence by your children feeling seen. Relationship and growth parenting makes it obvious that your children are seen. And I'm going to give you an example. Sometimes we praise our children for the results. So your children get an A star. We praise them. There's nothing wrong with praising them. But do you know what is even more effective? When you notice their efforts. When you notice your child's efforts, they feel seen. Oh, he noticed me. Oh, she noticed me. And when you talk more about efforts, more than the achievements, then it gives our children a reference point that they can repeat those efforts over and over again. If you just keep talking only about the achievement, the results, then sometimes our children lose sight of the efforts they had to put in to get those results. And sometimes when they don't get those results, they crash. So noticing the efforts and talking about what you noticed about the efforts is key to your children building that confidence within. It's so vital. And not just knowing that they're seen, but also knowing that they're heard. Children will come to their parents and say things like, I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say, for example, a child comes to her parent or to his or her parent and says, you know what, mom or dad, I feel my mental health is being, I just feel I'm not too great mentally. And a lot of parents, bless their hearts, oh, God forbid. What do you mean your mental health is? Oh, God forbid, that's not your portion. We've kind of dismissed that conversation. We've dismissed the emotions that has been attached with it. And we're God forbidding it rather than saying, oh, okay, hey, tell me more. I want to help. How can I help? Tell me more. So that you can then understand why are they feeling that way or what's going on in their thoughts life that is making them feel that way. Our children need to be heard. And a child that is heard is a child that grows in confidence. When a child is not heard, they start to doubt even their thoughts. They start to doubt their abilities. And so it's important to acknowledge their thoughts. Get to hear more from where that's coming from. So important that we get to hear it. So it matters because I tell you something, and I think I said it from on the start. When your children are confident, they're less vulnerable to negative peer pressure. They're more likely to speak up when something feels unfair, when something feels wrong. They're more likely to speak up in that situation. So it's so important that we make sure and we're intentional about our children feeling seen, our children feeling heard, and also trusting the process as they get older. Because if we are talking, and this is where growth comes into play, if we are talking to our 16-year-olds as if they're as if they're still 8-year-olds, there's a problem. It doesn't help your child see themselves as older people, as the 16-year-old. And so sometimes we get frustrated. They're not acting their age. They're not acting their age sometimes because we're not talking to them like their age. And I say this without judgment to parents because we're learning on this journey. And that's why I love, and I keep saying this, and maybe all my videos have this quote. That's why I keep talking about Alvin Toffler's quote that says, the illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write. No. The illiterates of the 21st century are going to be those who are unwilling to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And you see, parents, we're in this journey together. As long as you're open to learning, unlearning, and relearning, that helps you with your growth as you're parenting your children. You then understand the age and the stages. You then understand how to talk to your child as they're growing. Yes, you might be saying, "Oh, he's always gonna be my baby." Yes, yes, that's your child, but not in your communication to that child, because your child is growing and needs to know that you understand their ages and their stages. And the more that you can be respectful about their ages and their stages and grow with them, that gives a child so much confidence. That gives a child so much confidence. So everything, we've got to start even being in conversations with our children. How does it feel to be 15? How does it feel to be 12 years old? And encourage them in the journey. Confidence is not built in one day. Confidence is not, oh, you come in and you just praise them for one day. No, confidence is built over time in those little conversations, those little comments that you make around the homes. And that's why, parents, our emotional state, our emotional regulation, we have to check on it so much. Do our children feel understood when they make mistakes? That's another point. That's another way that our relationship and growth parenting helps in our children's confidence. When they make mistakes, how do you respond? How do you react? Do you attack them? So when I say attack them, do you shame them for their mistakes? Do you criticize them for their mistakes? Do you keep reminding them about their mistakes? These are things that can cause children to lose confidence. Mistakes are normal. What we do with the mistakes is that we learn through them. We have conversations with our children, not telling us. That's how you build a confident child. With the way you speak to them, the way you listen to them, the way you respond to them when they make mistakes, the way you support them. These are all ways in growing your child's confidence. And I tell you something, parents, your children's confidence is so well deserved. It's so well deserved. It helps them because that confidence gives them the resilience that they need. That confidence is what makes them mature and responsible. You can have those negotiating conversations with them. And as I said earlier on, your children being confident, they may not be compliant immediately, but we have to know we've got to be patient with it and talk to them through it. They're not just going to, confident children are not just going to do things just because we said so. We're going to have to explain. And explaining is so important because I tell parents this all the time. And I say, parents, I love it when my children question me. I love it when my children say, but why, mom? Okay, talk to me. Why are we doing this? I love it. Because for me, the more they practice challenging me, of course, in respectful ways, if they're rude about it, then we talk about it. But for me, as my children were growing up, I appreciated them questioning me because for me, it helps them build the muscle of questioning even their friends or questioning when they got stuck in negative peer pressure. If they didn't learn how to question us at home, how are they going to question friends out there? How are they going to question people that want them to do something that they don't want to do? This is why it's very important to let them question us at home. Of course, if they're rude to you being in that questioning, then we've got to teach them how to question us respectfully. That's really what it's about. So your children's confidence is so key, but your parenting style has a lot to do with it. So if you're authoritarian who believes in because I said so, all that's control, 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 it affects your children's confidence. If you're very permissive, where you're thinking, I don't want to be authoritarian, I'm just going to let my children do whatever they want to do, they're in charge, that is also not good for your children's confidence. And if you're neglective, not uninvolved, again, that is not helpful for a child. So you want the parenting style that builds your children's confidence. You want the parenting style that acknowledges your children. You want the parenting child that makes your children feel seen, feel heard, and feel encouraged and not shamed when they make mistakes. It takes a lot of learning, and it also takes a lot of unlearning. And I think just before as I wrap this up, because I don't want the video to get too long, but as I wrap this up, I want you to look at confidence as the root. No, as the fruit, sorry. Look at confidence as the fruits, and then look at your relationship and your growth in parenting as the roots. How are you nurturing your relationship with your children? How are you being respectful to your children as you talk to your children, as you correct your children, as you guide your children? Because the more you're respectful to them, you're modeling respect. They're gonna reflect that back to you. They're gonna reflect that respect back to you. The more that you are emotionally regulated with your children, the more they're going to reflect that back to you, reflect that back in their friendship groups. And yes, sometimes we're going to get frustrated. I'm not saying that in parenting, you just got to be so quiet, don't do anything, don't say anything, don't correct them, just keep everything. No, sometimes we're going to get frustrated. We're human beings. But guess what? In those frustrations, it's important that we are aware that we are frustrated at the moment. This is not the time to correct. Because any corrections and frustration shows that irregulation, and you may say things that you would regret. So give yourself a chance. Get away. Spend some minutes by yourself. Get yourself back together. And then you guys can have a conversation. Any conversation that's coming with shouting, yelling, criticizing, comparing, all that stuff invalidates the great thing that you want to share with your children. So raising a confident child is so possible. And we play a huge part in this. I trust that this has helped. Let me know one of the ways that you are being more intentional in raising confident children. And guess what? I will see you here again, same time next week. Yes, yes, yes. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and press the subscribe button. Press that button, follow us, share this video with other parents who want to raise confident children. Confident children are so necessary in this day and age. Our children are bombarded with so much noise, so many voices they have to contend with. But a confident child knows when to say no. A confident child knows how to stand up after a setback and a challenge. A confident child knows how to express their concerns, the unfair treatment. They just know how to do that. And that's what we want for each and every one of our children. Thank you so much again for watching. I will talk to you next week. And please remember that I'm rooting for you all the way. God bless. Take care. Bye bye.